Well, I'm the Young Turks. Big show ahead for you guys. Donald Trump might have actually jumped the shark. We'll talk to you about that a little bit later in the program. President Obama gave a speech, and conservatives were not happy about it. And then guess who the media blamed? Of course, President Obama. So we'll do all that a little bit later. And what is the real strength of the NRA? We're going to do that in hour two. But unfortunately, we got a lot of shootings for you guys. And terrorist acts as well, and that's what we're going to start with in this first segment here. So let's get started. No. Yeah, there we go. Another terrorist attack, this time in the UK. Now, it was one guy, and he was screaming, "This is for Syria." Not quite sure what that means. There's a lot of sides in Syria, and he apparently is a Muslim radical and want to do damage to random people on the tube in London. Yeah, that'll show the West. So he cut up two people, threatened a woman, a 56-year-old, was pretty badly injured in the hospital. The other person had minor wounds. Now, here's where the story diverges from what would normally happen in the U.S. So the police came, and they didn't immediately execute him. That is strange. Here, let's take a look.
Take him.
So they taser him a couple of times. In the beginning, it doesn't seem to work, but then it does. They kick the knife away, and then they arrest him. Wow. Seems unimaginable in the U.S. There's a lot of blood on the ground from the first attack. I would be shocked if the cops in America had anywhere near that restraint. Great job in subduing him. And then a second part of the story breaks out when one of the guys taping, apparently Muslim himself, starts yelling out on camera as all of this is going down. Let's watch.
You ain't no Muslim, bruv. You're no Muslim, bruv. You ain't no Muslim.
So that became a bit of a hit in the UK overnight, immediately. If you couldn't tell, he said, "You ain't no Muslim, bruv," which of course means bro in the UK. And that caught on fire on Twitter with people saying it, including best-selling author Tony Parsons in the UK, who said, "Proud of my city today, hashtag you ain't no Muslim, bro." And then apparently even the Prime Minister, David Cameron, in a press conference, according to Michael Deacon, said, "You ain't no Muslim, bro." So that's amazing. That's fantastic. And one more tweet here from a journalist. It's a powerful image, they said, of a Muslim policeman cuffing an Islamic State-influenced attacker. Fantastic work from the British police. They also included the hashtag, "You ain't no Muslim, bro." So I want to make several points about this. Number one, we're told here in the U.S. that, well, the bad guys would get guns anyway, so gun control makes no difference. Yet, somehow the bad guys couldn't get guns in Britain, and there was only 2 people injured. Now, that's terrible, but compared to what happened in San Bernadino a couple of days ago here in California, there were 14 people killed and 21 injured. You know why? Because the terrorists here could get easy access to semi-automatic weaponry. Tons of it, 1,600 rounds of ammunition. They got all the weapons they could possibly want. It's super easy to get weapons in the U.S. You know, even for a terrorist in the U.K., not easy to get a gun, let alone the kind of weapons that they had in San Bernardino. So does it make a difference if you have gun control? Hell yeah, it does. There was a brutal scene about a year ago or so, again from Great Britain, where there was a couple of guys, again, Muslim radicals, and they had hatchets. Oh, it looked terrifying, and they had attacked some people. A couple people injured. Were there 14 dead? No, because it didn't fire bullets. You know what guns do? It makes it easier to kill people. It's a terrorist dream come true. Makes it much more efficient to kill people. Second point is, people here sometimes say, oh, Muslims, we got to. In fact, today, Donald Trump put out a press statement saying we have to keep out all Muslims from the United States of America, period. Tourists, any kind of visa, people trying to immigrate here. Not just Syrian refugees, not people trying to get asylum here. Everybody, tourists, everyone, ban all the Muslims. So for those people saying, hey, we didn't mean all Muslims, well, it turns out some people thought you meant all Muslims. So that's what's happening here in the United States. What happened in the UK? 2 out of 3 Muslims in that video you saw were the good guys. One was the one recording it who said, now they're famous, you ain't no Muslim. And the second one was the cop who detained him. So you want to keep Muslims out of the UK in that instance? Well, you would have kept out the cop who saved the day. So perhaps we should be a little smarter, and apparently the UK is, but again, the US falls short a little bit. And then finally, I just want to applaud the police in Great Britain and in London in that particular case. What a great job, man. The guy didn't hurt anybody after the police showed up. They detained him. They were calm. They were brave. He lunged at them several times. They didn't shoot him. They didn't kill him. They didn't execute him. They found a way to get him on the ground, arrest him, and bring him to justice without killing him. That's how you do policing. Congratulations to the London police for heroic effort there. See, that's what heroes are made of. Okay, now, let's turn to the U.S., and you'll see that the story doesn't really turn out the same way here in the U.S. Okay. So in Miami, on South Beach, there was a bank robbery. This idiot comes into a bank, hands the teller a note saying he's got a bomb. Now, by the time the cops caught up with him a couple of minutes later down Alton Road, by the way, the thing's spitting distance of where I used to live in Miami, so this guy could have been around and could have been dangerous when I was there. I'm going to be there a month from now. I'm going to go to that same exact place, right? So if anything, I should be frightened like, oh my God, he could have done me damage. He could have done the people I know damage. Do I think he had a bomb? Well, the guy doesn't even have a shirt on. So probably a dumbass bank robber thinks I can hand any note I want, get what I want. Now, by the time the cops get to him, he obviously does not have a gun. He runs into a barber shop, grabs a razor, right? No bomb in sight, no gun in sight, but he does have a razor, okay? And that's when Sylvia Rodriguez tells the Miami Herald, well, quote, everything seemed under control. It wasn't fast. It was pretty chill. He was not acting erratic. All right, now I'm going to show you the video of what happened next.
Yo, dog, this guy's about to get killed right now. Yo, this nigga's about to get killed.
Another day, another execution. And that's how our cops roll, okay? And that's not cool, that's not tough. I mean, it's borderline cowardly, right? I don't know why I'm calling it borderline. Do you really think that their lives are in danger? Does any rational human being believe their lives are in danger? And you see the guy pointing the high caliber weaponry at him, let alone the fact that they have him surrounded, let alone the fact that he obviously does not have any kind of big weapons. A taser seems to go off there. I don't know if they got spooked by their own taser and decided to execute him on the spot. But did anybody think that guy needed to be executed? He's not a good guy. He's a bad guy. He's a bank robber. He's got a blade. We all get it. We all get it, right? But if you really thought he needed to be executed there's something fundamentally wrong with you. You live in a constant state of fear, and you think our cops shouldn't arrest people. They should be judge, jury, and executioner on the spot, no matter what the circumstances are. Here, I'll show you another camera angle here. No, wait, actually, before we do that, let me give you more from the witnesses. Rodriguez, again, Sylvia Rodriguez, 27, said she saw the officer flash a slight smile and a thumbs up at the other officers. How is that not revolting, man? And she says, that's what was making me angry. It could have gone another way. Look, that last sentence couldn't be said better, man. In all these cop shootings, it could have gone another way. Now, watch this incident from another angle. I know it's terrible, the guy gets killed, but we got to face up to the ugly truths in America and see if it could have gone another way. How many cops were there? How much weaponry did they have? Was he lunging at them? Were they in mortal fear? Grave danger to their lives? They couldn't have done anything else but shoot and kill him? If you think that, you might be a monster. I don't like that guy. I want him brought to justice. I don't want guys like that hanging around where I live, where I go. But I don't want my cops to be worse monsters than that guy. There's something fundamentally wrong in the way we're training the cops. They don't care about human life anymore. They take it without a pause or concern. They just kill, kill, kill. And if you can't see that after all these videos, there's something wrong with you. And I guarantee you that people will look at that video. I guarantee you. To be fair, I already know it because I saw it online. They're applauding the cops. There are people online. And not a little, a lot. A lot of people applauding the cops, like, way to go get him. He's dangerous. Some guy wrote on Twitter or wherever the hell I saw it, oh, he threatened to have a bomb. What did you want him to do? Does that guy look like he has a fucking bomb? Where is he hiding the bomb? In his socks? No, man, they really are monsters, man. They really are. They look at that and they applaud that shooting. How bad a person you have to be. Plus, you know what? Total and utter cowards. They're just constantly living in fear, 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 fear. Oh, keep me safe by executing all the bad guys. Keep me safe. Okay, you know what I think of those guys. Okay, so now let's move on to a third story here that combines those two stories. So the way the United States police officers and other civilized countries handle crime is a little different. Here in the United States, we like to shoot people. We like to shoot them dead. In the rest of Europe, that's not really how it goes down. I mean, recently we just had a terrorist attack in the UK. I'm going to show you that in a second. And the cops seem to handle that just fine without having to kill someone. Not the way our cops roll. So first off, let me give you some stats on this, and then I'll show you video after video, UK and then versus US cops, okay? First of all, American police in 2014 were 18 times more lethal than Danish police. Well, they just had to do it. Well, that's got to be a high. I mean, the Danish police are probably really, really placid. There's probably no crime there. How about Finland? That's got to be lower, right? No. US cops were 100 times more lethal than Finnish police. 100 times, right? And the list keeps going on. So now, a lot of times in America, it happens to be blacks and Latinos that get killed. They are overrepresented in the number of people killed by cops. They're most especially overrepresented in unarmed people killed by cops. But even if you take that huge percentage out, and you just talk about white people killed by cops in America, get a load of this. White Americans are 26 times more likely to die by police gunfire than Germans. It's not, oh, well, you know, those European countries, they're all the same race. You know what I'm saying, wink, wink. So that's why they don't have to do anything. No, our white people get shot a lot more too. It's because our cops are trigger happy. Again, the video will show it to you in a second, but the numbers are not anecdotal. They're overwhelming. See, it turns out that there's a different way to handle things if you're the Germans, the Danish, the Finnish, and all over the Europe. In fact, let's go to the UK and do comparison here. Fatal shots by U.S. police since 2013 when someone is wielding a blade or other weapons, but not a gun, okay? More than 575 people killed, okay, by U.S. cops since 2013. In the UK, there's more people who wield knives because of tight gun control. They have less guns, so more knives. So the UK cops obviously must have killed more than 575 because there's so much more of it over there. Here's how many they killed since 2013, people attacking with a knife. 1. Us, 575. UK, 1. Okay, speaking of the UK, now let's not just talk about knives, but all police killings. As of this year, okay, in the UK, police have killed 1 person this year as of September 1st. In the US, we've killed 776 in that same time period. You think there's perhaps a little discrepancy between how we train our police and how Europe trains its police? Okay, if you're not sold yet, let's go to the videotape. First, we're going to show you a video from a terrorist attack in the UK over the weekend. This guy's already cut 2 people up. There's a ton of blood on the ground. When the police come, and this is what happens.
Taser him.
So they did taser him. The first taser didn't work. The second one did. They kick away the knife. They arrest him. They didn't shoot him with guns. They didn't execute him. Wow. That's amazing, right? They didn't immediately kill him. Now, let's talk about U.S. cops, and let's show you a videotape there. Over the weekend, same time period, here in the U.S., in Miami, there was a bank robber who had a blade, just like that guy had a blade. Let's see how that turned out. Yeah, dead. Unlike the UK terrorist, he had not stabbed anyone and was not lunging towards the police. The UK terrorist started lunging at the police. They still didn't shoot him. Okay. In our case, he's just standing there. The cops execute him on the spot. Let's go to Laquan McDonald in Chicago. This was over a year ago. The video was just recently released. Take a look. He's 17 years old. Yes, he has a blade in his right hand, as you can see there. Casually walking, spin move, boom, executed. You see the smoke going up from his body. Shot 16 times. 14 of the bullets entered him when he was already dead on the ground. So, is there another way to handle this? It looks like they're still shooting him. They're still shooting him. This is what U.S. police do. Now, you wonder why there are protests against U.S. police? Is there another way? Of course there's another way. Now, I'm going to show you one more set of videos here. This is a homeless person in San Francisco. Again, some sort of blade on the homeless person. There is an army of police here. Could they have handled it in a different way? Let's take a look. Now, in case that wasn't clear enough because they pointed down when the shooting began, there's another angle on that video. And I'm sorry to show you all this, but we have to face the truth here in America, which is our cops are trained to kill, they're licensed to kill, and they get away with it almost every single time. They're almost applauded for this kind of barbaric activity. Here, watch it again.
So many fucking cops for this one guy. What the fuck did he do? What the fuck? Dude, the kid's not doing fucking... Dude, he didn't do fucking shit. What did he do?
It looks like a gangland slaying to me. Do you guys really, does anyone believe that the 14 cops there were all in grave danger? At any moment, that homeless person could have killed them all. They had to put the person down. Or the guy in Miami, or Laquan, the 17-year-old in Chicago, or the dozens of other videos that we've shown you, or the hundreds of cases that we just talked about. No. There's a reason why our cops kill more, because they're taught to kill more. In Europe, they have 3 years of training for the police. Most of that time is spent on figuring out how to de-escalate conflicts. Of course, they spend a lot of time on, what happens if the criminal is escalating the conflict? What happens if you're in danger? They spend a lot of time training. On average, we spend about 19 weeks training. And by a 20-to-1 ratio, that is, they're taught what you do when there is conflict, right? Only 5% of the time do they talk about de-escalating the conflict. How do you bring the conflict down? The other 95% of the time, they talk about, like, how do you protect yourself? How do you shoot them? How do you kill them? Let's talk about firing your weapon and firing it. They could kill you at any minute, any second. You're always in danger. Shoot, shoot, shoot. And that's what we have. Cops in America. Shoot, shoot, shoot. When are we going to get it through our thick skulls that we got to do better training of the cops and teach them that they are supposed to be brave. They are supposed to do better policing. They are supposed to respect human life. Even if it's a bank robber, even if it's, oh, God forbid, a homeless person, even if it's a 17-year-old black kid. Yes, you're supposed to respect their life, even if they have a blade. I'm not saying that they were in no danger, but did anybody think that all those executions were warranted? And then when you ask the cops, can you do a little bit better? Oh, why are you so anti-cop? Because that isn't decent policing. I'm not against police. Apparently, they do a wonderful job in Europe. I'm against training the police to execute the citizens. And if you're not against that, there's something wrong with you. I know. Do you enjoy that? Those videos, do they give you a rush? Do you feel some sort of vicarious pleasure out of that? Do you feel like they're getting guys you don't like? What is it about that makes you want to defend that? No, we have to fix it. We have to get better training, and if you don't, there's something wrong with us as a society. We're supposed to live in a democracy. Those cops are supposed to represent us. They get paid by us, the taxpayers. It's incumbent upon us to give them new rules and new directions, because this is horrific. Young Turks. All right, back in the Young Turks. Let me read a bunch of tweets for you guys real quick. Way to talk to us through the show is hashtag TYT Live. Use that on Twitter, okay? So I'm a Derpy Panda says, why are we always number one in all the areas that are terrible? Good question. In this case, of course, gun violence from cops. Vern says, hashtag TYT Live, every episode, they not only cover the news better, but call BS for what it is. Thank you, Vern. We appreciate that. Rudy Bouquet says, big thank you to Cenk and the TYT crew. I got my tweet reward t-shirt today, and it was the one I was hoping for. Hey, there you go. No problem. Well deserved, Rudy, for all your wonderful tweets. John Chris Lopez writes in, for those who think the cops are always right, how many people have to die before you say it's too much? Hundreds? Thousands? Well, John, I read a great article over the weekend on Vox, actually. Old friend Tom Hanks sent it to me, about how all these mass shootings, now it's a little different than what you're talking about, but it's a similar idea. We think, how many of these do you have to have before you're convinced that we need some sort of gun control? But for people who are opponents of gun control, they see the mass shootings as a reason to have more guns. So every time there's a mass shooting, they get more entrenched in their idea that that we need to have more guns. So in the case of the cop shootings, a conservative who's so afraid, and that's really the principal driver of a conservative mind, is fear, right? They're so afraid of everything around them. Every time there's a cop shooting, they think, oh my God, there's criminals everywhere. The cops should shoot more people. I know for logical people, it's counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense. But for them, they're never going to be convinced. The more cop shootings, the happier they are. So Diamondback finally says, here's a mindfuck for U.S. cops. Dutch cops are under investigation for pulling a gun. Could you imagine in the U.S.? Almost every cop would be under constant investigation for pulling a gun. A cop in the U.S. wouldn't think twice about pulling a gun. He'd think twice if he wasn't pulling a gun. He's like, wait a minute, I'm at a pool party. Why haven't I pulled my gun yet? All right. So now let's go to a little bit of foreign policy. President Obama over the weekend gave a very rare Oval Office address. In fact, only the third that he has done in his 2 terms. So he talked about the threat of ISIL, as he calls it, San Bernadino, the terrorist attack that happened there, and what we need to do in Syria and Iraq. Apparently, I'm the only one in the media who liked the speech. Everybody else was like, I want more war. There wasn't enough bloodlust in the speech. So let's show you what the actual speech was, and I'll tell you why I liked it. Let's watch.
We will prevail by being strong and smart.
Hey, crazy. Now, how many times have I said that? Can we be strong and smart? So unsurprising that I would like that strong and smart beginning to the speech. The rest of the critics, whether they were conservatives or the mainstream media, thought strong and smart? Me no like that. Me like strong and dumb. All right, now let's give a little bit more substance here.
For 7 years, I have confronted this evolving threat each and every morning in my intelligence briefing. And since the day I took this office, I have authorized U.S. forces to take out terrorists abroad precisely because I know how real the danger is. The threat from terrorism is real, but we will overcome it. We will destroy ISIL and any other organization that tries to harm us. Our success won't depend on tough talk or abandoning our values or giving in to fear. That's what groups like ISIL are hoping for. Our military will continue to hunt down terrorist plotters in any country where it is necessary. In Iraq and Syria, airstrikes are taking out ISIL leaders, heavy weapons, oil tankers, infrastructure. We will continue to provide training and equipment to tens of thousands of Iraqi and Syrian forces fighting ISIL on the ground so that we take away their safe havens. In both countries, we're deploying special operations forces who can accelerate that offensive. With American leadership, the international community has begun to establish a process and timeline to pursue ceasefires and a political resolution to the Syrian war. Doing so will allow the Syrian people and every country, including our allies, but also countries like Russia, to focus on the common goal of destroying ISIL.
Now, I get why some people don't like the speech. First of all, they put the teleprompter in the wrong place. So he's looking off camera, a little Michelle Bachmann-esque in that regard. I get that, right? And I get that he doesn't pound his fist. Look, I like to pound my fist. I get angry all the time. Anybody who watches this show knows it, right? President Obama just doesn't operate like that. So I think a lot of people would have liked it better if he would have said things, same exact things, but with a different tone. We're going to use special forces to go get the sons of bitches. They were like, whoa, holy shit. But that's exactly what he just said. And that's why I liked it. He said, look, we're bombing their oil. We're using our local allies to circle them and using their ground troops instead of ours. But I've got special forces on the ground to help us with that. And that's what I've been arguing for. That's a smart strategy that is more likely to work. Now, it's not easy. You're not going to do it overnight. But it's better than getting stuck in another land war in the middle of Iraq and Syria now. In fact, he then goes on to talk about what we shouldn't do.
Here at home, we have to work together to address the challenge. There are several steps that Congress should take right away. To begin with, Congress should act to make sure no one on a no-fly list is able to buy a gun. What could possibly be the argument for allowing a terrorist suspect to buy a semi-automatic weapon? This is a matter of national security. We also need to make it harder for people to buy powerful assault weapons, like the ones that were used in San Bernadino. What we can do, and must do, is make it harder for them to kill. If Congress believes, as I do, that we are at war with ISIL, it should go ahead and vote to authorize the continued use of military force against these terrorists. For over a year, I have ordered our military to take thousands of airstrikes against ISIL targets. I think it's time for Congress to vote to demonstrate that the American people are united and committed to this fight.
Okay, perfectly reasonable. Look, you keep wanting me to bomb. In fact, you say I'm not bombing enough. Why haven't you authorized force yet? Oh, because you don't want to be politically accountable. Republicans want the option of later being able to say, I didn't want to bomb ISIS. Bomb Iraq and Syria? Me? No, I didn't authorize it. Right? And look at what they're doing now in the case of the Iraq war. All the Republican nominees have turned around and said, me? I was never for the Iraq war. That was that dummy George W. Bush. Trump saying I wasn't for it. Jeb Bush saying, no, I wouldn't have done it knowing what I know now. All of them disowning it. That's what they want to do because they're political game players and they're cowards. If you want him to bomb and bomb even more than he is, well, then authorize it, right? Okay, and then assault weapons. In the UK, there's a terrorist attack, but the guy only has a knife. He injures 2 people. In the US, there's a terrorist attack, but they have assault weapons. They kill 14, injure 21 others. Guns are designed to kill people. If we limited assault weapons, they could kill less people. These are logical things, but people aren't interested in logic. And finally, the terrorist watch list. The fact that we allow people to get weapons on there is insanity. Don't let any Muslims in. It might be dangerous. But what if they're already in and they're Muslim or otherwise and they're on the terrorist watch list? Oh, yeah, go ahead and give those guys guns. What happened to the small percentage chance? But let's not take that percentage chance. No. They're on a terrorist watch list, no-fly list. That's okay. Just give them guns. Just give them guns. Why? Because the NRAs and the gun manufacturers are going to make more money. That is grotesque, man. That's blood money. Okay. Would President Obama be better served if he was angrier about it? If he said it was blood money? I think he might be. But the substance of what he's saying is absolutely true. And finally, he gives us a warning about what we shouldn't do. Let's watch.
Let me now say a word about what we should not do. We should not be drawn once more into a long and costly ground war in Iraq or Syria. That's what groups like ISIL want. We cannot turn against one another by letting this fight be defined as a war between America and Islam. That, too, is what groups like ISIL want. ISIL does not speak for Islam. They are thugs and killers, part of a cult of death. And they account for a tiny fraction of more than 1 billion Muslims around the world, including millions of patriotic Muslim Americans who reject their hateful ideology. Moreover, the vast majority of terrorist victims around the world are Muslim. If we're to succeed in defeating terrorism, we must enlist Muslim communities as some of our strongest allies, rather than push them away through suspicion and hate. It is the responsibility of all Americans, of every faith, to reject discrimination. Because when we travel down that road, we lose. That kind of divisiveness, that betrayal of our values, plays into the hands of groups like ISIL.
So he called, everybody keeps saying, just say it, say it. Okay, so he called ISIS thugs, killers, cult of death. Anything else he needs to say? Maybe he should have just screamed it so it would have been better, right? And then he says, can we please not be stupid and not alienate the Muslim allies we need on the ground? Who are our allies in Syria, in Iraq, in Turkey, in Jordan? Oh, right, they're all Muslims. Those are our allies fighting on the ground against ISIS. You don't want to alienate them. That would be stupid. Plus, it's a betrayal of our values because we don't discriminate based on religion here in America. That's the whole point of the country. And what do conservatives say? No, me no like strong and smart. Me want more yelling, more blood. At one point in the speech, he had a nice line. He said, freedom is more powerful than fear. In another era, that might have been a line that really resonated. You know, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. That kind of line from Roosevelt after Pearl Harbor. In this era, that's not possible because immediately the opposition and the media jumps on TV and says, oh, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. I hated that speech. Oh, that speech is garbage. Yeah, it's just empty talk. Oh, it's just the same thing as always. Blah, 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 blah. Imagine if they did that to FDR. No, that's not true. We have a lot more to fear than fear itself. He's just being a coward. Oh, it's ridiculous. No, we have the Japanese to fear. What does he mean we have nothing to fear? We have the Nazis to fear. Of course we have something to fear. We should be really afraid. Oh, he's not doing enough. Oh, FDR's the worst. Oh! Yeah, then you wouldn't have any great speech. 7 years ago, what does that even mean? Oh, that's ridiculous. Emancipation? No, I'm against emancipation. Oh, what does he mean, emancipation? That's not what he said when he was running for office. That's true. Lincoln didn't say that when he was running for office. He's a liar. That's what Lincoln is. He's a liar. Blah. We'd have no great presidents because they'd be torn to shreds immediately after every speech, even if it was a great speech. And on the substance, this was. So if you're a critic of it, sad day for you because you're absolutely wrong. Okay. Now, let's turn to those said critics. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters is a Fox News military analyst. All he does is yell and scream about President Obama. We've shown him dozens of times saying the most outrageous, outlandish things. You're going to be shocked to find out his answer is almost always a military one. There's nothing that can't be solved with more bombings and more invasions, according to Ralph Peters. Now, he here's President's speech over the weekend on how we should be strong and smart, and we should use things like special forces, allied ground troops, etc. But it's not enough for him. He wants more blood, more bombing, more invasions, more of our troops on the ground to get killed. So this is the classy way that he's going to rebut the president's speech on Fox Business.
He keeps speaking about we can't give in to our fears. Don't be afraid. Look, Mr. President, we're not afraid. We're angry. We're pissed off. We're furious.
Yes.
We want you to react. We want you to do something. You're afraid. I mean, this guy is such a total pussy. It's stunning.
Gee, I wonder why there's divisiveness in this country. And they have the nerve to blame President Obama for it. President Obama gives a measured speech, and in return, he gets called a total pussy. And then they say, you see that? You're divisive, Mr. President. No, that guy was divisive. And by the way, he could have said that same exact thing about FDR's speech. No, there is something to be afraid of. FDR's a total pussy, that's what he is. What do you mean there's nothing to fear but fear itself? No, I'm afraid. And the projection that screams from that is hilarious. This guy's afraid of his own shadow. Right? He's like, where are the Muslims? Where are the terrorists? Where are they? Where's the black people? The thugs? The criminals? Where are they? I'm so scared. I'm so scared. You're calling somebody a pussy, you a big-ass bitch, okay? Hey, two can play at that game. Oh, what, are you offended, bitch? I hope you're not offended. I mean, you just called the commander-in-chief a total pussy. You're not going to cry, are you? Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, you're not going to cry, are you? You little pussy bitch? Well, I didn't think so. Okay. So Stuart Varney with his little smile as this guy continues to rant, and look at what the host does at the end.
We the people, the American people, whom he does not know in any intimate sort of manner. We want action. We want action against Islamic State. And then, when the president's telling us, he is going to destroy ISIS. This is a president who has done more harm to American police departments than he has done to Islamic State. This is a president who restrains our military. He uses it not to defeat ISIS, but for political purposes, for political cover. This is a president who doesn't want to hurt our enemies. This is a president who cares more about thugs in Guantanamo or thugs in Ferguson, Missouri, than he does about law-abiding American citizens and their
Ralph,
right to live in safety and peace.
I can tell you are super angry, and I asked you what your reaction was, but I got to call you. You can't use language like that on the program, okay? I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, sorry, really quite sorry. I mean, I love what you said. Smashing, really, but tone it down on the language, otherwise brilliant. Okay, to be fair, Fox News has suspended him for 2 weeks. Unclear whether it's paid or unpaid, and then he'll come back on and clean up the language a little bit and say the same thing he's been saying for years now. They pay him to say stuff like that. You think that they're upset with him? No, it's a little slap on the wrist and like, hey, Colonel Peters, keep it going, big guy, right? So he says he hasn't done anything to our enemies. There's been well over 5,000 bombing runs on ISIS from us. You know who's bombed ISIS the most in the whole world? Us. We bomb them over and over again in Syria and Iraq. It's not like if you listen to the Fox, you think that we haven't touched them at all, that we haven't bombed them at all. All we do is bomb them. And we've got special forces on the ground. Now over 3,300 troops back in there, special forces. And we have the allies going after them. And we put tremendous pressure on them. And President Obama explained how we're bombing their oil tankers now. Look, could there be a better strategy? I'm sure there can. And we've talked about it on the show. And is it fair to criticize the president's strategy against ISIS? Of course it is. But not in this inane, stupid way where he's, he loves our enemies. He helps our enemies more than he helps our police forces. What are you talking about? And what's that reference to thugs in Ferguson? He had to get racial in there anyway. I mean, why did that come up in the middle of ISIS and foreign policy? It's like, black, he's black. Right? And I'm telling you, it's not just that Ralph Peters is racist against the president, which is obvious. Not just from this segment, from every segment we've ever covered of him. Okay? He can't stand the president. He hates everything about him. Anytime you question, hey, should a cop execute someone who was unarmed? Right? He's like, of course he should, because thugs, right? You see that fucking foaming at the mouth from this pussy, right? But it's not just that. More so than anything else, Ralph Peters is the quintessential conservative. You know what defines the conservative mind? Fear. That is their number one emotion. That's why they like tradition. You know why? Because it gives you certainty. It gives you order and structure. It allows you to grasp onto something when you're so afraid. That's what Ralph Peters is about. He wants to go Wreck-It Ralph on everybody and bomb everybody from a distance, right? So he can hold on for dear life. Oh my God, I'm so scared. I'm so scared of the black people. Ferguson, I'm so scared of the radical Muslims. Oh, the ISIS. Protect me, somebody. And then you have the nerve to call the president names. I don't know any bigger cowards than people like Ralph Peters. Grow a sack, dude. Stop crying on TV all day long. Have I been clear enough, you fucking pussy? Okay. I tried to hold back. That didn't work. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that bitch cried saying that he feels threatened by me. Oh, somebody protect me. I'm so scared. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. Okay. Anyway. All right. Let's move on. I'm told that we have a liberal media in this country. Laugh along with me. This media is completely establishment media. They protect the establishment in every way. Conservatives say the most outrageous things all the time, never get challenged on it. The minute that President Obama or Hillary Clinton says something to even slightly challenge the Republicans, and even if they don't, no, you should have been kinder to the Republicans. How dare you? How dare you? Okay. Now, I'm going to give you some examples of that. That's why we're doing this segment. Now, President Obama gives a speech about, hey, we have to be smart in how we attack ISIS. We're going to use special forces. We're continuing to do our bombing runs. But Mark Halperin, who is as much of a establishment media figure as there is, I mean, you want to get the nonsense conventional wisdom of Washington, it brews in his mind, right? I mean, he talks about the chattering class in this clip. He is the chattering class, right? He's one of the purveyors of this nonsense, garbage. What part of this is the liberal media? It's a joke, right? So he comes on the Today Show on NBC after the president's speech and says this garbage.
Are you surprised that in this speech he didn't offer anything new in terms of strategy or policy, that it was basically stay the course?
I'm surprised by that. I'm also surprised that he didn't do a good enough job, or maybe any job, of reaching out to Republicans. This is a time when we need national unity. We're in the middle of a presidential campaign. He's leaving office in a little over a year. The reaction from Republicans, as Andrew said, uniformly bad. Not just the presidential candidates, but the Capitol Hill leaders. I think nothing new and no sense of bipartisanship. Not good for the country. Look, this is the fundamental responsibility of Washington, to protect the country, to protect American interests abroad. And when the president comes out, gives a speech, and then it becomes just politics, it becomes for the chattering class, I think that's a failure of leadership of both parties, but the president's got the primary responsibility now. And you would like a world, like after 9/11, where the president addresses the country, says we're in crisis, and Republicans say, we're going to put partisanship aside for a moment and work with them. That's not what we're seeing.
So wait a minute, but the president didn't do anything about politics. He didn't say anything about politics. He didn't make it political. The Republicans immediately jumped all over him and made it political. And you say he didn't reach out to Republicans enough? Listen how the Republicans reacted right after the speech. Let's see if they reached out to Obama.
What he's saying is nonsense. It simply doesn't exist with the facts, because he has created this narrative that everybody is against Muslims. That's not the case. But we are against Islamic jihadists.
And nothing that happened in this speech tonight is going to assuage people's fears. First of all, we heard tonight that the same strategy that has brought us to this point is the strategy he is going to continue with.
He didn't lay out anything new, and he spent more time talking about what we shouldn't do than what we should.
I would go on offense. We have 3,500 American troops in Iraq. I would go up to 10,000, so we'd have the capability to reinforce the Iraqi security forces to destroy ISIL inside of Iraq.
It was a speech about nothing. It was almost like a Jerry Seinfeld episode.
We're at war with radical Islamic terrorism, and this president continues to deny that, and so does Hillary Clinton.
Making it political. What did Hillary Clinton have anything to do with that speech from the Oval Office? No, here's how the Republicans reach out, with the back of their hand. And they see that and they think that's the president's fault. Mark Halperin, the so-called liberal media, NBC, so-called liberal media. That's the president's fault for getting slapped around like that. But he didn't attack them. They attacked him. Nope, it's not their fault. Don't blame the Republicans. Don't blame the Republicans. Blame the Democrats. Don't you ever fight back. In fact, you should preemptively, before they criticize you, because you know they're going to criticize you no matter what you say, in this speech, you should have made it political and reach out to Republicans. But wait a minute, I did over 5,000 bombing runs over ISIS. I'm bombing their oil structures. I'm bombing their buildings. I've got special force on the ground. What else can I do? Meet them halfway. Maybe nuclear. I mean, what is meeting them halfway? Ground troops. But I've already got 3,300 troops. Well, maybe 10,000 or 50,000. All right, start another war, whether halfway, just in Syria, but not in Iraq, or just in Iraq and not in Syria. How the hell is he supposed to meet these guys halfway? And how in the world is it his fault that there's a divisiveness in Washington? But not just Obama. Here's Charlie Rose yelling at Hillary Clinton over a similar theme. Watch.
But you know, a lot of people think the biggest problem for America is Washington. That's the problem. And that's part of reflected in some of the politics that we see.
Yes, that's true. But look at the way our founders set it up. They set up this separation of powers, and they made it really difficult to get things done. And some years it's really hard. And we're in one of these periods where we have a minority within the other party that doesn't believe in compromise, doesn't believe in reaching consensus.
But there you go attacking them. That's not the way to do it.
No, because part of what you have to do is make it clear to everyone else who is in that party that there is room.
Are you kidding me, man? There you go attacking them. What do the Republicans do? They attack nonstop. Over nonsense, over things that are fabricated. And why don't you ever call them out on it, Charlie Rose? When's the last time you interrupted in the middle of a Republican and go, hey, there you go again, attacking the Democrats? They'd laugh in your face. Of course I attack Democrats. They deserve to be attacked. That's how they would handle it. So, but the minute a Democrat tries to defend themselves for 1 second, hey, cut it out. Don't attack the Republicans. Where's the liberal media? Where's the liberal media? I haven't seen it. Okay, there is no liberal media. And this is part of the game that's played. Everything's 50-50. Even though these guys are monsters and yell at the top of their lungs, I'm going to call it even between those guys and the ones that are being attacked. And every once in a while meekly say, well, they are actually filibustering more than others. They're creating obstruction. How dare you? That's the problem. You're the problem. Don't ever attack the Republicans. Where the fuck is the liberal media? Where is it? I don't see it. No. These are all establishment guys. They love the system as it is. They're all enormously rich off the system that exists. The media that are all millionaires sitting there, they love the system. They don't want any Democrat or any progressive ever upsetting that system. They don't have any problem with the demagogues like Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and all the monsters on that side, and they just want to call it even. Oh, well, Trump says, hey, maybe we should kick out all the Muslims from the country. He says, yeah, maybe he likes people who weren't captured in war, like John McCain. He likes women who aren't bleeding from different places. Let's call it even. No, that isn't liberal. As being part of the establishment media, it's actually deeply conservative. Conservative in the sense of, let's maintain the current status quo. Why does the media want to maintain the status quo? Because it's made them incredibly wealthy. You think they want to change that? You think they want to tip that apple cart over? No, those are their apples. They love them apples. So if a progressive ever challenges that apple cart, they are ferocious in attacking them. If conservatives keep on going with that apple cart, they applaud. Oh, I'm just being neutral. That's what they say. The media is a lot of things, but liberal ain't one of them. Young Turks.